to another vlog. In this vlog, I'm going to be going over my fall TBR plus what I'm currently reading right now. Later this week, I should be getting my book of the month, and I will do an unboxing with you all, and you'll get to see my October pick. Also grabbed a book for Brooke and another book in there. So I'll have 3 books to unbox with you all, and that will add to my TBR. But yeah, let's get started. So let's go over first what I am currently reading. You may have seen in the last vlog that I started reading Thirst, and I'm really liking it so far. It is definitely a little ooky spooky. The way that I, growing up, had a deathly fear of vampires, and then I read all of Twilight in a month, and everything that I was afraid of just went out the window because that was so unserious. But they still irk me a little bit. To say that I have empathy for this vampire is actually kind of crazy to me, but it's very interesting. I was talking to Brooke about it last night, and I summed up what I've read so far, and I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to give away any spoilers. But she was like, how far are you into this book? I'm like, oh, I just started chapter 3. And she's like, you just started chapter 3? That's a lot. A lot happens. Some things are pretty dark, and when they get too dark and I'm anxious before bed, I read this book. I got this at the Brooklyn Book Festival at the Ripped Bodice tent, and it was a blind date with a book. I've never read one of these books that have like one of these cheesy covers on it. They usually deter me. I only read chapter 1, but I like it so far, and I feel like it's going to be a good palate cleanser. And I know most people read palate cleansers after they read but a week girly, and I need to read both at the same time. Luckily, the plots are very different. Yes, they're both about lesbians, but one takes place in Buenos Aires and one takes place in, I think, England in the olden days. Very different vibes. Those are the books that I'm reading. And then I have this really long list of books that I would like to read in the fall, and I'll go over each of them. So this book is part of this series, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and there are currently 4. The 5th one comes out, I think, this fall. It's about this coffee shop in Japan that lets you travel in time, but you have to come back before the coffee gets cold or you get turned into a ghost. And I really want to get it, and I really want to read it. I recommend this book to everyone and anyone. This one it's good. I wouldn't rush to it, but I definitely recommend reading it. If you want to skip it, that's totally fine, because the plot from the first one jumps to this one pretty much immediately. The plot's kind of slow. Even though this one also takes place where the first one left off, it's more about just the stories of the people that come in to travel in time. And then this one talks about the characters running the cafe and their plot. But when I first read it, I gave it 2 stars, but I think about it all the time. So I brought it up to, I think, a 3 or 4 star rating. This came out last fall, and I was reading the 2nd or 3rd book when it came out, and then I kind of lost momentum with the series because they're all pretty much the same. Like, the B plot is a very slow build. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying if you're someone who wants to read these books back to back to back, it might not be as satisfactory as reading one of the books and then reading some other books and then revisiting it rather than plowing through it. I've started it. It's very interesting. I cry with every one of the stories. That's another reason why I put it off. I think this one does take place in the spring, so if I don't get to it, I can always read it in the spring. I'm finding I have a lot of books that I want to read set in the spring, and I'm like, great. Like, I tabled my witches book that's in the spring because even though I love it so much, when she talks about the tulips and the spring rain, I long for it, and I can't do that because I hate winter so much. I'm trying to romanticize winter so that I can get through it. So that's why I'm trying to save my spring books for spring so that I have more things to look forward to. So I have the biography of X, which I've been mainly listening to more than reading. I like to have a book that I listen to on like the bus or the subway because I can't always pick up where I left off in a book that I'm like currently reading unless I'm really into the book and then I have to go somewhere. I'll find where I left off in the audiobook and play it from there. But I've been actually liking it as an audiobook. It's really interesting. This is about a woman writing a biography of her famous now deceased wife. She's writing it kind of in spite of someone who wrote a biography about her wife without their consent. While she's writing this, she's learning a lot more about her wife than her wife had told her when they were married. It seems dark and probably more of like a thought girl read than like this or that. And then the 7-Year Slip is also on my list. I like magical realism. It's about this woman who is willed her aunt's apartment, and her aunt's always told her that the apartment is magical. When she moves in, she finds a man in her kitchen and he's from the past. I think they fall in love and try to make it work. But I think also I've heard that the guy in the apartment, he's still alive. So he's out there, just a little older. So I don't really know what that is going to be like. Also, Yellowface. My sister read this in like 2 or 3 days. I got this right after I finished Perfume and Pain. And the way the narrator talks is similar to Perfume and Pain, and they're both novelists. So I've had it shelved for a little bit, but I would love to get back into it. I just didn't want to read it right after Perfume and Pain because then I'm going to confuse the characters because they were so similar. I know they're not that similar once what happens. It's about this woman whose college friend dies in front of her, and she finds her like most recent manuscript that she just finished, and it's called Yellowface because the narrator is a white woman and the friend is an Asian American woman, and she steals the manuscript and then changes her name to be racially ambiguous. I've heard so many bad things about the narrator, but I hear it's so captivating. My sister and I are doing a mini book club where it's just the two of us, where we're gonna read The Secret History. And I've started and I felt that little click in my brain that's like, you're gonna read this in 3 days, but my sister still hasn't started. So it's paused, and every time I look at it, I feel that little click going on and off, like, hey, pick me up. So Amy, if you're watching this, start the book. Then I also have What You Were Looking For is in the library. I read the first chapter about a year ago. It was really fun and I really liked it and I still think about it, but I was reading other things too and I got wrapped up in them, so I haven't picked it back up. But it's about this library that has literally anything you're looking for and the librarian helps you find it. It's just so cute and cozy. It's giving Before the Coffee Gets Cold, but a library. And then lastly, I have this book. It's called How to Love Your Daughter. It seems so eerie. It's about this woman who does not have a good relationship with her daughter and has never met her grandkids. She travels thousands of miles from her home and she's standing on the street looking into her daughter's windows to see her grandkids. So while she's standing across the street looking into the windows, she is trying to uncover in her mind how their relationship, which started off really great, got really sour to the point where she doesn't know her grandkids. It's kind of reminding me, not necessarily of Mad Woman, but it's kind of giving that vibe. I'm learning I love books about mother-daughter relationships or like sister relationships, especially when they're toxic. I don't know why. I don't have a toxic relationship with either one of those people in my family. The last on my TBR that I will definitely be reading, especially in October, is The Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. I also got this at the Brooklyn Book Festival. I went to the event where she was on a panel. So I really want to read this. I want to read If We Were Villains, but I want to read The Secret History first. It's about these people who work different night shifts at different jobs and how they all meet in a cemetery every night. Not like planned, it's just a habit for all of them. And it's a cemetery that has no new graves, but they find one freshly dug one day and they work together to find out why it's been dug, who it's been dug for, what the story is. I love a novella. When I read a novella or a short novel, I feel like I've accomplished everything that could be accomplished in the world because it's so small. Yeah, so that's my TBR and my current reads. Way too many, and I might not get to all of them, but I've been reading 3 or 4 books a month. I feel like I could get these done by early December because I have a December TBR plus a winter TBR. I will be back in a couple days to unbox my October book of the month. I'm so excited for it. I was iffy about book of the month for a little bit because with July, I picked Bear. That was my first month, and I thought it was one of the books for July, and I read it so quickly. I loved it so much. When I wasn't reading, I had it on audiobook. It was so good. August comes around. One of the books I already had, and that would have been my book of the month that month, and I wanted to get another book on top of that because the animators looked interesting, and then I was like, oh, 5-Star Stranger seems interesting, and I read part of 5-Star Stranger. I didn't really like it. I was not really a big fan. I just really couldn't get into it. The animators, I went on Storygraph, and there are things in there that could possibly be uncomfortable for me to read about. The story's a little too close to home in a male-dominated field. I thought that would be interesting to read, but then I remembered I cannot for the life of me get into Temporary by Hilary Leichter. I have it up here in my bookshelf, but I freelance a lot and I contract a lot, so it made me feel anxious. So I think I might give that to Amy because she's been wanting to read it. And then September rolled around and there were so many good books. And then my friend gave me the ARC of one of the books that was on there. I read that in 3 days, and I picked Blue Sisters, read that in a few days, loved it. And I'm like, okay, so the books that like I've wanted to read for book of the month are really good. And not so much the books that are like, oh, that could be interesting. I really can't buy books that I think that could be interesting. I have to like fall in love with the back before I get it. So I learned that the hard way. I've given both the animators and 5-Star Stranger away. The book that I did get in August that was on the August book of the month list that I already owned is The Wedding People, and I have yet to read it because I read so many other books in the summer. I'm thinking of reading this in the spring or summer. This just looks like a really good summer book to read, and I'm excited for it. It just seems interesting, and I like the cover. But yeah, so I will see you in a few days with my book of the month unboxing. I will see you soon. My book of the month is here. Well, I guess I should say my book of the month and Brooke's book of the month, plus a little something extra. I'm so excited. Another book of the month bookmark. I love these bookmarks actually. They're pretty sturdy. I really hate a weak bookmark. Okay. I'm gonna start with the book that I got Brooke. This is like an early birthday present. I sent it to her so she knows about it, and she saw it get delivered, and yeah, she just knows about it. So it's like, it's the birthday gift that she knows about and gets to pick. It's The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. It's a romantasy book. It has enemies to lovers, and that's pretty much Brooke's requirements for a book. She's really excited to read this. She's reading Throne of Glass right now. She read the prequel. She's starting the technically first book, and then after that she might read this. So that'll be fun for her. My book of the month for October is The Book of Witching by CJ Cook. I was super excited to see this because if any of my friends are watching this, they know I've been looking for another witchy book to read in October, and when the book options for this month were released, I saw this and I was like, no, because this is my book. So I was torn between this and Dearest, but I'm still dipping my toe into horror. So I didn't want to commit yet because Thirst is good, but I'm also hearing that Thirst isn't like the most traditional horror book. So that could be why I like it, but Dearest is definitely interesting to me, so maybe I'll get that another time. Someone's daughter is unconscious in the hospital after a hiking trip with her friends. Her boyfriend dies and now her best friend's missing, all after an accident when they go hiking on these haunted remote islands. Why it's haunted is because they used to do, I think, witch trials there. A woman is wrongly accused of witchcraft and is murdered, and then my theory is that her soul takes over this 19-year-old, and that's why she only responds to Nyx. So it's really interesting. I also want to know, like, does that have anything to do with the mythology of Nyx? So that'll be really interesting. And when she wakes up, she does not know her name. She doesn't like have any memory about anything, and she responds to the name Nyx and only Nyx. So my theory, and then I just got brought to the friend tier recently, so I was able to get all my additional books for like $12 each. Last month they were sold out of the July book that I really wanted, and this month it was in stock, and I've been wanting to read this for forever. I've been wanting to read this since it came out. I am so excited. It's The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I've heard nothing but good things about this book. I want to read it so bad. I believe it's about a girl goes missing at a summer camp. She's the daughter of the owners of the camp. And it's not the first time that someone in her family has gone missing. I believe also at this camp. Which at this point I'm like, sell it and move, you know? This is about the search for that girl. That will be an interesting read for sure. I clearly have a thing for people in the woods and like tragedies happening. I don't know. It's just, I like the thrill. So I'm really excited about these books. Yay. I'm thinking because Brooke's out right now, I might gift wrap this and give it to her when she comes home. She's running a really annoying errand. She doesn't want to be there, so this will be a nice thing for her to come home to. I'm gonna wrap it up and I'll show you. I'm gonna use this bag. I think it'll fit. It's kind of funny, like this bag is so like, oh, I'm so cute and precious, and then we're gonna put this bad boy in there. Okay, it like just fits, but that's okay. I'm giving it to her in an hour. Doesn't have to be like the fanciest. In this house we reuse gift bags and reuse tissue paper. There is a hole in it and it's wrinkly, but that's okay. Gift wrapping lesson. Put it in the tissue paper like so. Like this. So it's like centered and like wrapped around. Then put it in the bag. So now you have like a little base layer, and you take this extra tissue paper, bonus points if it has a hole. Not for use, just for character. Just wrap it up. And then this is where you have creative license. You can put them on like in the sides here, or you can put them in the front. I am going to put it wherever it fits. It fits best in the front. And then take another one. Do the same thing, like fold it diagonally and then fold it again. Put it on the opposite side of where you just put that last one. And then look, in this way, when they open it, they can just kind of part the C a little bit, and there it is. I'm so excited about these books. It makes me want to skip reading Thirst, but that's just because I'm excited. Maybe it'll motivate me to read Thirst. Maybe one of these will take over Infamous because I like it, but I'm like not in a romance vibe right now. Clearly. But yeah, that's my book of the month. Make sure to follow me on Goodreads. That's where you can see me in real time, updating what I'm reading, what I want to read. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to stay in the know for when I post my next vlog. This was fun. Maybe I'll make an October read recap. That'll be fun. And we can see what actually I read from my TBR, any books that I've bought since then that I've read instead, and how I liked them. That'll be a fun challenge because I am unpredictable. But yeah, thanks again. Hope you had fun. I had fun. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and press the bell button for notifications, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.